You have got to be kidding me.
Therefore, as a faithful servant of the Enkindlers, we too must serve the Reapers.
You big, stupid jellyfish.
Enough of that. There we go. What the... Don't you love it whenever OBS updates and it just changes all your fucking settings? Grrr! Goodness gracious. Ugh. Hello. I am sorry that I was not here last week. Last week was not a very good week. Honestly, I had kind of a shitty week. I had stomach issues that were going on. I had like no energy, nothing. And then I played Silent Hill F and I just couldn't vibe with the gameplay. So I just kind of was like, I was already in not the best mood because my stomach was killing me, right? So I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I just refunded it. So, and I honestly kind of regret it because everyone is telling me that I know. I was on Almighty Lolly's stream when we were closing out Cyberpop. Everybody, like him and a lot of other people I know, are telling me, dude, the story in Silent Hill F is excellent. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, God damn it. So, that was a bit of a bummer. I heard the story was interesting. Combat was terrible. It's heavily focused on combat. Yeah, I didn't like the combat at all. Some people are calling it Souls-like. I would say, like, in the broadest sense, it's like Souls, but I don't know. Like, I don't think it quite fits. My issue with the combat is it's very jank. That's my issue with it. It's very jank. And when you've got kind of a jank combat style, paired with, if you get grabbed by an enemy, you have no way of getting out of it. It's just automatic damage, which I hate. And things of that nature. It just doesn't really make for fun, in my opinion. So yeah, it just kind of doesn't. If I buy it, I will probably buy it on discount, and then I will probably play it on the easiest mode, so I can just enjoy the story and not have to deal with the combat that much. So, because everything else in that game is awesome. Like, the sound is really on point, which Silent Hill games tend to be on point with their sound design. I don't think I've, like, even, like, the Silent Hill games that aren't that great tend to be on point with their sound design. And, just the general atmosphere, the monster design was really good. Like, I liked everything else about it. It's just the combat, like, not really my thing. So, but yes, today's stream, I couldn't think of a topic. I thought about doing a stream about EA being bought out by the Saudis and I think Trump's son-in-law. I think Jared Kushner owns like a big chunk of it now too. But the joke that I had was kind of lame. It was just basically like, the new slogan for EA is EA Sports. It's in the, and then you play the from the Muhammad Hassan theme. But I'm so old, nobody probably remembers who Muhammad Hassan is. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go through questions and stuff just to kind of answer whatever. We do this after every time that we do a deep dive series. I take time to do a Q&A, and I didn't want that to be any different, but this time I decided to do it live. So that is why we are here. So let's go ahead and get started with questions and such. And of course, if you throw money at me, you get priority. That goes without saying. So let's have a look and see what we got here. Because somebody asked earlier, Orc at War 98 just asked, what's my favorite pizza toppings? I am a big fan of pepperoni as like the big one, but you really want to like tug at my heartstrings, get me a Chicago deep dish. But also, I'm also a big fan of a 4-meat pizza with stuffed crust. That's good stuff. Do I already have a Halloween review planned? Yes. And I will give you a hint. It is a series that I have reviewed once before when it originally came out, and I've always wanted to go back to. And I'm really looking forward to doing it because, when is it supposed to cool down in here? So it's 86 degrees out right now. It's supposed to cool down next Tuesday. So when it cools down, and then the fall is supposed to start officially. It was supposed to start already, but that ain't happening yet. But next week I'm going to rewatch it and then go ahead and pen the review. Steve Choza says, do you play Fallout London? Will you try the DLC? I have not played it. I heard it's kind of buggy, so I'm kind of waiting for it to be a bit more stable before I give it a try. Let's see here. When it comes to Warhammer 40k, which traitor faction are the best villains to love to hate? Best traitors. I would have to go with the Iron Warriors. I'm biased, obviously, because the Iron Warriors are my favorite traitor legion. The reason that it's the Iron Warriors for me, and the reason that I think they are so enjoyable to read about and to have as antagonists, is because they're competent. You know for a fact that these guys are a thinking army. Because they have to be. Because that's what Perturabo demands of them. And they're going to be unorthodox if the Demonculabo was any evidence of that, right? They're going to be unorthodox in their approach to things. And honestly, I'm of the opinion if Perturabo cared enough to push beyond the planet that he stays at inside of the warp, Gilliman would have problems. Because holy fuck. Perturabo's very good at what he does. You mean Perturabo's petty if competent man babies? Yes, exactly. Because yeah, the Iron Warriors are definitely can be man children, because Perturabo can absolutely be a man child. Perturabo is autistic as fuck. Like that's kind of what I enjoy about him. But he also has reason to be pissed off, because he's consistently underestimated, he's consistently overlooked, and every time that he uses that against you to win. The fact of the matter is, if Perturabo does not withdraw from the Siege of Terra, Chaos would have won. They would have won the ground war. Favorite Loyalist Legion? Salamanders. Always. I love them. I love them too much. Second would probably be the Raven Guard. Though I'm not in love with all of the Raven Guard successors. There's quite a few good ones, but there's a couple that I'm not a big fan of. Yo-Yo for $4.99 says, sorry about me posting all that stuff earlier on your thing. A lot of things are stressing me out. You're throwing money at me. I can't complain. I don't mind. I understand how it goes. And look, sometimes you just need to vent. Just to warn you, I'm not going to reply to everything, because I'm not like I'm not a therapist. So sometimes I'm not the best guy to talk to in that regard. Not to mention, I will also admit, this is probably the reason I'm kind of a shitty boyfriend. I am a very results-based and very practical person, almost to the point where it's a flaw, and I'm very blunt. My whole thing is that if I am presented with a problem, I'm going to fix it. And the problem is that a lot of people sometimes don't necessarily want to fix things. Or if they want to fix them, they want to fix them at their own pace. So 2345 asks, thoughts on Super Robot Wars Y? It has a pretty good mecha lineup. I'm pretty happy with the mecha lineup. Suletta is shockingly good. Also, Desort throws in 235 in US, says Vulcan lives. Thank you. But anyway. But yeah, the Mobile Suit lineup in Super Robot Wars is good. It's a decent challenge. I've noticed it's a little more difficult than the previous games. I need to play more of it. The problem is it drags. And the other problem, the Macross units fucking suck. Like, they suck. They're not very good. I've been trying to level them up. They're just not competent. But the enemies, the bosses from Macross that you have to fight, are a pain in the ass because they are overly durable. So, yeah, not really a fan of that, but it's pretty good so far. I don't know when I'm gonna finish it though, because it's just so long. If you had to design a mobile suit to fight 40k Titans, excuse me, what design features and armaments would you give it? Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of mobile suits that honestly wouldn't have that many problem with Titans in 40k, because let's look up the Titan sizes. So, Titan sizes 40k. So, according to this, an Imperator class Titan is 100 meters, a Desiree is 60 meters, Warlord is 55, Reaver's 35, Warhound is 20, Kesitorius Knight is 10. A Gundam is going to be about 10 meters tall, so it's about the size of a knight. The problem that you run into with all of the Titans, including the Imperator, is you have robots that are the size of a knight that are considerably faster and more maneuverable than them. Honestly, if you gave me an army of Leos... Actually, no, let's not do Leos. If you gave me a full army of Taurus units... Actually, no, let's not do that. If you gave me an army of... what were the units from Endless Waltz called? Hydras. I think. Grunt suit. Serpents, that's it. If you gave me an army of serpents with competent pilots, I would probably light the Imperium up like something fierce. Because the Imperium will have a lot of firepower. But when it comes to their mechs are fucking slow. So I would be able to dominate them on... when it comes to the big stuff. And out in fleet battles, they'd have a lot of problems because of how... Well, mobile suits in Gundam are built to deal with capital ships, even big ones. So they're gonna get past those void shields and light you up. And they, void shields are really good, but they can be broken. And I have no doubt that Gundam beam weaponry would be able to do it. And once that's broken, you're fucked. Because there's, you have to keep in mind, competent mobile suit pilots can kick fighter jets out of the air. You're gonna have a lot of problems. Where they would have me would be in the ground troops, because they would have Astartes, and Gundam doesn't have an answer for that. But 40k solo is blank verse. Well, don't get me wrong, dude. 40k has, the Imperium... There's a lot of sci-fi universes the Imperium would fucking steamroll. Because, again, a lot of these universes, they don't have an answer for the Astartes program. They don't have an answer for the Custodes. They don't have an answer for the absurd fucking numbers that the Guard can throw at you. Their starships aren't as powerful either. So there's a lot of stuff that 40k can throw at you that's fucking terrifying. But in a mech battle, yeah, Gundam takes it. Any chance of continuing the Xenogears playthrough? Maybe? I haven't really... I've thought about having a day where we sit down and stream video games instead of just like a yapping stream. People seem to like the yapping streams a lot more, I've noticed. So I tend to lean towards that, but maybe we'll do that on Thursdays. We'll see what happens. Let's see here. Don't know if the topic of generative AI is considered political. Not really, no. Is the hate artists have against AI justified or exaggerated? SF, it is 100% justified. AI is lazy. It is lazy as fuck. I want to give you an idea about this. Like, and I can't speak for somebody who draws because I'm not somebody who draws. I am someone who writes scripts, and I write every day of the week at this point. If I'm not doing something for my own channel, I'm doing it for a contractor, or I'm doing editing work. It is a long process. It takes a lot of time, to the point where think Astartes can be beaten by Spartan 4s? We'll get to that. But I spend a lot of time working on these things. Generative AI is lazy, and it doesn't have any soul to it. There's no human element. And without that, you're just throwing slop at people. So yeah, I fucking hate it. Fancy Toxic Soda. Can I say hi to Shirt Dude for you? Absolutely, though he'll probably watch this at some point. On the Spartan 4 thing, that's a bad day for the Spartans if they're up against Astartes. It's a really bad day. And there's a reason why. In a straight up fight, well, first thing to mention, Spartan armor is inconsistent as fuck in the fiction. Like, 1 minute the Master Chief can fall from the fucking, like, the stratosphere and survive it, which admittedly in Astartes cannot, because they don't have the means of doing so, unless they have a grav chute. Because there are Astartes units that do halo drops. They're called Reavers. But the next minute, the Master Chief can be killed by just elbowing him in the back of the head. So it is, if the Tau can kill Space Marines with railguns, Halo Fortified railgun could do some good damage. The problem is getting your hands on it. And this is the thing that there's a couple key factors like that Spartans are going to run into that's going to be a big issue. I'm not talking about Chief. I'm talking like a Spartan, specifically a 4. Let's say a Phobos equipped a Phobos equipped Astartes. Say like a Raven Guard. Or no, we'll go with Raptors. We'll do it with the Raptors. So, because if there's any like parallel that a Spartan has in 40k, a Phobos equipped Raptor, I think is a good fit. Similar mantras, similar combat disciplines, things along those lines, right? So we stick them in a jungle and we let them go after each other. So the fight happens. The first thing that you're going to notice is that the Spartan is going to start firing his assault rifle at the Astartes, and the rounds are just going to plink off of him. And then the Astartes is going to fire his bolter, and it's going to blow limbs off. And here's the reason why. The Astartes, or rather the standard UNFC assault rifle is a 7.62 x 51 bullet. So it's basically a G3, but with a larger magazine. I think it ranges from like 32 to 60 rounds, if I remember right. That's why it kicks as much as it does in the game, unless you're, the Chief. a bolter shell is 20 to 25 millimeters. Boom. That's a big fucking round. Like, it's like this coming at you. A bullet this big. Goodbye. That's the first thing that people are, that's what's going to happen. And I would feel really, really bad for the Spartan in that manner. And that's where they run into problems. And in melee, they're going to have a similar issue. Because the Astartes is going to rip out a blade that is 3 feet long. And he's going to have no problem slipping that into that armor. Because you have to keep in mind, like, the blade of an Astartes can rip through a tank. So that's where the issue lies. Like, on a physical level, a Spartan 4 is competitive with an Astartes. So, like, in a fist fight, they're gonna be able to hold their own. But even then, where they're gonna have a problem is the Astartes development. So Astartes, they're brought up from like 16 or so years old. They don't hit the field until they're in their 30s. And on top of that, they have a lot of internal redundancies. They have 2 hearts, they have 3 lungs. A Primaris Marine is physically enhanced to be that much stronger than what he is, whereas the Spartan 4, if I remember right, they're completely reliant on the suit. And they're much smaller. So, yeah, an Astartes is going to tear through a Spartan. The one Spartan that would give Astartes trouble would be Chief. Because Chief is special, to say the least. First off, he's a Spartan 2, so he's fucking huge. And the Spartan 2 program is basically the Astartes program, but in Halo. And he has a ton of experience. So in hand-to-hand combat, he's going to be able to hold his own. For Chief, you would need somebody to fight him that is more experienced, like a Stern Guard. Or I wouldn't go Chapter Master necessarily, because he's gonna get hit by a fucking power fist and it's gonna kill him. But I would be interested to see a hand-to-hand fight between Chief and a Stern Guard. That would be really interesting. But he's the only one. Spartan laser, sniper rifle. That sniper rifle ain't getting through there. That's only a 50 caliber round. I say only because it's like that's still not enough to get through Ceramite. You have to keep in mind a las gun that is used in 40K can punch through concrete. They tend to ping off of Ceramite. But yeah, like the Spanker rocket, they would need bigger weapons. Mjolnir can survive bolters if the plating is hit. Concentrated fire from a bolter is going to rip them apart. Because concentrated fire from bolters kills other Astartes who have better armor. Or rather, I should say armor that is built better against ballistics. And yeah, once a Brute and a regular Primaris are about the same size. Yeah, but the Brutes aren't nearly as skilled. That's the biggest thing. It's not just the size and it's not just the armor. It's the man behind it. Like they don't hit the ground until like when they're scouts. Like by the time you're a full-fledged Astartes, you've been in the service for close to 20 years. Because they're going to get you as a young teenager at the oldest. So you've been in the service for that long. And then, on top of that, trained by other Astartes that have been in the service for hundreds of years. Because like you have to keep in mind, like, let's say you're part of the Salamanders. All of their captains have been serving for at least 200 years. Let's say you're with the Ultramarines. The Ultramarines have a, like, if you get put into the 4th Company, you're under Uriel Ventress. You know, you get put into 2nd Company, you're under Sevastus Acheran, which, not as impressive, but Demetrian Titus is there, and he's over 200 years old. I mean, hell, like, if you're part of the Lamenters, you're learning from, why am I forgetting their chapter master's name? But you're learning from guys that fought in the Badab War. Same thing if you're in the Carcharodons. So on and so forth. Like, it's not, they're not really comparable to the other. A bolter is worse than a brute shot? You mean does more damage or not as good of a weapon? Because you're going to argue a bolter is not as good of a weapon as a brute shot. I don't know what to tell you. You must not know what a bolter does. A bolter is an assault rifle. Like, you have to keep in mind... Okay, so this is another thing. So a bolter from an Astartes can be fired like a normal United States Marine Corps member can fire an M4. They're fully automatic weapons, and they're capable of pinpoint accuracy. So, yeah, that's a much better weapon than a brute shot. Brute shots are very inaccurate. It does more damage. Okay, yeah. Yeah, a bolter would do more damage than that. Who would win between Titus and Malum Kaido? They would never fight because Kaido respects him too much. But if they, let's say they had a duel, my money would be on Kaido. Kaido's fucking ridiculous. Like, Malum Kaido beat a Lord of Change. He beat a Great Unclean One. A Great Unclean One gave Gilliman trouble. Because if I remember right, well, actually, wait, I think he might have fought Rodigus. He banished one of them back to the warp. Yeah, Kaido killed 6 Greater Demons. Yeah, he's on par with the Primarch. Granted, Kaido had the weaponry to do it. So, he did that, and then he also defeated a sorcerer, which is no easy feat. Now, Titus, on the other hand, he defeated a sorcerer that was ascending to a Greater Demon and crushed his skull with his hands. That's really, 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 really fucking impressive, too. So Titus is also really good. But yeah, they'd never fight because Titus is too respected within the Ultramarines, within the 1st Company. Like, they all are gonna know who he is, and they're gonna like him. He actually is the opposite of Malum Kaido, or not Malum Kaido, of Cato Sicarius in the fiction. Like, Sicarius was actually not that well respected outside of 2nd Company. Titus was. Everybody respected Titus. Everybody knew who he was. And, like, I'm curious about what he got up to before Graia. I know he fought the Eldar a few times and, like, did really well. So... What is my favorite gym? Oh, Oh, God. You know what? I would have to go with the Dominance. I really like the Gym Dominance. I love its loadout. Really, really effective. Even his own battle brothers think he's full of himself, right? Or is that just fanon? No, that is true. A lot of people thought Kato was up his own ass. There were some people, if I remember right, in the Damnos Crusade, which is when he got a scythe in his chest from a fucking Necron, that thought that it was a long time coming because his head was so far up his ass he couldn't imagine ever losing. Have I ever heard of a movie called The Carpenter's Son? No, I haven't. Should Malum Kaido get his own game piece? How would you lay his rules out if he did get one? That's the problem. You would have to... The problem that they're going to have with Malum Kaido... I want Malum Kaido to make a cameo in the next Space Marine game. Because the things he does in Bolt Gun affect Space Marine 2. But we don't know if he's still alive in the era Indominus. They've never mentioned whether or not he's ever crossed the Rubicon. Because after Gaia, he elects to stay there. That's where Bolt Gun 2, I think, is going to take place. Yeah, if you made him game accurate to Bolt Gun, he would be the only guy you field. You'd have to make him a Primarch. So... I know some people want to crucify me over this and want to see an escort mission in Space Marine 3 where Titus has to shield and protect civilians from either Xenos or Traitor. I hate to say it. Depending on what the mission is, if there's another mission that has to be taken care of, the Ultramarines would work on whatever the goal is before they would worry about the civilians. They would leave it to the Guard. Because that's what the Guard's job is. Ultramarines aren't that... Ultramarines, if they can help civilians, they will. But if there is an objective that they find to be of so much importance that this needs to be done more than anything, they will choose the objective over the civilians every time. You know, they are a military organization. That is what they are there for. They are precision strikes. That's what they're there to do. It's sort of like a really good example of this is there's a mission in Space Marine 2 where the Thalassa team goes down to... It's the one where you take on a Hierophant Biotyrant. The Guard are basically distracting it, and you are sent around the side of the damn thing to flank it with las guns. That is how Space Marines work to a T. The moments where you see a bunch of Space Marines in a group charging people is very rare. Very rare. They prefer to work in small squads that are surgically inserted and to complete objectives while the Guard does the bulk of the groundwork. Yeah, it sounds more like a Salamander mission, pretty much. Salamanders would make sure that the civilians are taken care of. He is alive as Bolt Gun 2 takes place on a different planet. I thought Bolt Gun 2 was going to be on Gaia, so that's interesting. I'm curious. If Bolt Gun 2 is in the era Indominus, then yeah, he's very much still alive, but I'm curious about it. Have you seen episode 3 of Space King by Flash Gets? I have not watched a single Space King episode. You could rewrite the Federation Charter in Gundam Unicorn so it wasn't really dumb and awful character. How would you fix it? Specifically the part about talking about new types. Federation charter. Oh, you mean the thing that Laplace's box is protecting? That's the thing. I don't mind it being what it is. I have a problem with how it was used. Because and the way that it was reacted to. Like, the reaction that Benager has is fucking stupid. Because he's so tame compared to how he should be. Because he's heard all these stories from all these people who fought in the 1 Year War, who fought in both Neo-Zeon wars, so on and so forth, that have gone through absolute fucking horrors. He sees them inflicted as scars of the past. And his own fucking family is responsible. Because had they dropped the information, things would have gone differently. But they chose not to. Whether it to be to, profit off war or what have you. Everyone's got their theories. They don't go into much detail. His first reaction, in my opinion, that would have been sensible is, what the fuck? It's like, so you're telling me that you're just not going to drop the one piece of information that would have saved millions of lives. Fuck you. Should be the response. That should be the response. And it wasn't. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Greetings from the Forgotten Circle of Hell, also known as Florida. Oh, great speaker of Gundam lore. I've heard Florida's quite nice. Granted, I've only visited there twice, so I don't know what it's like these days. Last time I was there, I was 18. That was when all the Marvel Comics stuff was at Universal Studios. How would it save so many lives? If after the 1 Year War had the charter been unveiled, the Federation would have to acknowledge the ability for the colonies to self-govern. And then after that, there's no need for Titans, Then if you do it after the Grips War, similar effect. Neo-Zeon does not start the war because there's no reason to start the war. So on and so forth. Like, it literally defangs your enemy. Wild Gamer, I do not know what Kurimokuro is. So I can't answer that one. Phantom666 says, most of the colonies were already on the way to self-govern, if not, it's for Zeon starting the war. Well, that's the thing, like, they were like, the Federation was very hands-off with a lot of the colonies after Side 3 broke away. Like, they were very hands-off with it. Like, they had bases out in space to monitor things, but they weren't really aggressive. At least not from the stuff that I've read. The aggressiveness didn't happen until Zeon attacked. But again, like, that was what the zombies always wanted. They wanted that war. They wanted more than what they had. Because they're a greedy bunch of bastards. It's my opinion on For the Barrel. Never read it, so I don't have an opinion. Have you watched Power Rangers, Super Sentai, or Kamen Rider stuff before? Yes to both. I grew up with Power Rangers. that was what got me into taking a couple of karate classes as a kid, and I really wasn't a fan. And I watched Kamen Rider, I think it's X-Aid, the one that's based on video games. Was kind of disappointed that the actual bad guy, it was just Dio Brando. I'm like, whatever. And I have not watched anything since. I just don't particularly care for it. Thoughts on Jared from Zeta? What do you think of his character and treatment? I think he's exactly what he needed to be. He was a foil for Camille, and he was also emblematic of what the Titans were. He was effectively the Titans in a character. He was brash. He was a bully, largely untalented, constantly failed up because he was rewarded for brutality, not for skill, and just a pest that would not fucking go away until you just blow him up. That's the Titans in a nutshell. They were I think Bright said it best. They're a mafia posing as a military. And when push came to shove, they did not have the brain power to beat their enemies. They had the numbers, but even then, like, it just wasn't, they weren't able to pull it off. What about Ultraman? Nope, not my thing. Most of the people in the Earth sphere had tame reactions, have been more realistic. Most people Earthnoid and Space Noid be rioting because Federation cover up led to the 1 year war. I don't agree with that sentiment. I still laid the 1 year war at Zeon because you have to keep in mind the reason that, or you have a gap in time. So, if I remember right, because I did a video on this, it's called Laplace's Box Makes No Sense. The Zeon declared itself its own entity in 0050 or somewhere around there. And Damos throws in a buck. Give me a second to bring up Stream Elements so I can actually read that. But let me explain this thing first. With Zeon, they were established, and what happened was there was a negotiation between Side 6, the Earth, and Side 3. Basically with Side 6 being the mediators, because they're a neutral colony. And the agreement that they came to was that Zeon could be an independent nation. However, so Side 3 was completely independent from the Earth sphere. However, where they run in, they are completely cut off from resources from the Earth sphere that would go to other colonies would be able to get their hands on. Basically saying, look, if we're divorcing, there's no prenup. We're done. We don't have to help you. And since colonies are very self-sufficient, Zeon's like, all right, cool. The problems came in 0075. Because in 0075, Shar Aznable's... that is when the initial planning... Because before this, Shar Aznable's father was assassinated. He was poisoned by Degwan Zabi. In 0075 is when the mobile suit was created. The very first one, the Crab Man. Mobile suit development, the whole plan for the Zabis, headed up by Giran, because he was the supreme commander of their military, was to take over the Earth sphere. They wanted control of everything. Because Giran is Hitler. So, saying that it's the Federation's fault that the 1 year war happened, I think is not true. I think that what's in Gundam canon says the opposite. You know, should they have been more open about colonial independence from the get-go? Should they have ever covered it up? No. But it's pretty clear that the Federation at the turn of the Universal Century and the Federation at the forming of Side 3 of it becoming an independent state are two different entities. They don't behave the same way. And even as time goes on, it's very much possible that the people within the Federation also were not aware that that was the original intention. We have no evidence otherwise. The keepers of the secret were the Vists. So, if it's anyone's fault, it's theirs. Servant throws in, celebrates 13 months of membership. 13 months. Also, the Discord had such a talk. Starfleet versus UC Gundam Forces. All sides. Who wins? Starfleet versus Gundam. The mobile suits are going to tear them to shreds. Because, again, they're built to kill ships like that. So that's not even a thing. As for 40K, the Imperium versus, they're not built for. So I would say this. My thing is this: if the Imperium went to war with Starfleet, eventually Starfleet would surrender, because they don't have an answer for a lot of the technology in 40K or the numbers. That's the other big thing. Is Miss Serena okay? Is the Grindstone podcast dead now? I can't go into detail. I have agreed not to with everybody else. We have all agreed to part ways. And at this point, Grindstone is just me and Alex. I cannot go into more detail. I do not know anything about Serena. I have not spoken to her for a few weeks now. So, I have no answers there. Just know that it's just me and Hatman. The services like fulfillment and things like that, we have a contractor who is going to be handling that from here on in. And then we're still going to, of course, publish certain books, but the team is much smaller now. So yeah, we decided to part ways. Let me get to Deimos because he already threw money in. Have I ever thought about doing an April Fool's review on one of the South Korean mecha bootleg cartoons? It says that's 2 questions, but that's just one. But no, I've never thought about anything like that because I don't really. That's not really that interesting to me. Like, it really wouldn't fit quite really with like the stuff that I tend to do to fuck with people. I would probably think of something else. Remember Literature Devil getting mad that a Gundam reviewer was comparing Zeon to the Nazis? Literature Devil saying it's more World War I because Zaku's have a gas mask? First off, German soldiers in World War II wore gas masks as well. Second, Literature Devil, if you're watching this, you're a fucking idiot, dude. They are based on the Nazis. There's a whole thing within... Like, there's a part of an episode in Gundam where Girin Zabi is literally called a student of Hitler. Yoshiyuki Tamino has come out and said that they were inspired by the Nazis, the creator of Gundam. The side of your neck, you're talking out of it. You shut the fuck up, dude. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, what the actual fuck? Like, who says that? Like, I understand that there are some people that are these fucking culture warriors, like Lit Dev and others that are like, oh, Nazi is overused. Da, 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 da. Yes, it is overused by people that are completely online. That doesn't mean that there aren't things in science fiction that are meant to be parallels to the Nazis. Get off the fucking internet and be smart for 10 seconds. Jesus Christ. Jesus. Yeah, Xeon has a bunch of German-style names. The hell? I know. It's so stupid. I fucking hate it when people do that. Like, there's even elements in... Like, Yoshiyuki Tamano was a child during World War II. It had a big effect on him. Because he had to grow up in Japan after it had been nuked twice. Like, do some fucking research. God. Fucking morons. One of my IRL fans is convinced that Zeonic Army was modeled after the Kaiser Reich. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with the Kaisers. They don't operate like Kaiser Reich at all. Like, fucking... Ramba Ral is quite literally based on Erwin Rommel. Jesus fucking Christ. Gundam Wing Glory of the Losers got an anime adaptation. Would you like the actors and actresses to reprise their roles? As many as you could get. Sadly, at least in English, Kirby Morrow is no longer with us, so he would not be able to play Troa again. But the rest of them, absolutely. I don't think they're gonna animate it though, to be honest with you, because it largely tells the same story. There's some differences, but there's not a ton of them. Second question on Gundams: do you want Gundams done in 2D or 3D? 2D for sure. I prefer 2D animation. Opinion on the Dvazer Buster for Wing Gundam. I don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest with you. It just kind of exists. Does the flack that Shinji Ikari gets mostly overblown? Yes. He is a teenage boy that is very depressed. He acts like a teenage boy that is very depressed. Like, that's... What are you expecting? You know? What happened to Camille Bidan at the end of Zeta Gundam? I'll actually be talking about it in the next deep dive we do, which is Double Zeta. It goes, like, Camille is in Double Zeta as well. So, I don't want to spoil it, but I'll be talking more about him again in the near future. Tired as I am of the cultural Marxists in the Gundam fandom screeching media literacy. I don't. They're not Gundam fans, but what are the subjects of Zeon and the Nazis are mentioned? I'm not that daft to not know the similarity between them. Well, and that's the thing, is like, it's one of the most like pointless fucking things. It's like, some people act like it's a gotcha. Some people act like they should deny it. It's like, no, it is what it is. So what? Ramba Ral is based on the myth of Erwin Rommel. Depends on who you ask. Because Ramba, the similarities between Ramba and Rommel were that he was a man who cared more about his men necessarily than he cared about the political auspices of the guys up top, of the top brass. He's just doing his job and making sure that his guys survive. That's all he cared about. So, I don't really know if that's a myth. Like, I thought that was pretty well established about Rommel. Oh, maybe I need to reread some things. Dusort throws in a couple bucks, says Camille end up with eyes filled with stars. There's a lot going on there. Last I heard, Camille was recovering during Zeta Gundam. Yeah, there's a bit there. How Universal Century Gundam would fare versus the Imperium. In mech-to-mech fight, the Imperium is going to lose, and they're going to have problems in fleet battles. But the Universal Century, they're going to run into problems because they're going to get overwhelmed by numbers. They don't have the numbers advantage. The Rommel he's based on didn't exist. I'll have to do some more reading. Admittedly, my knowledge of Rommel is like high school history class, so... Like how Reddit idiots came, media's like Gundam and 40K belong to them because they believe the creators believe with their worldview. And they don't. That's the funny thing about it. Like, Gundam is not... Like, Redditors don't think that a just war exists until the media tells them that it does. Whereas, like, Tamino is pretty blatant in Zeta and Double Zeta that the AU are the good guys. You know? Like, there's no ambiguity there. It's a position he's always held, you know. But he's always talked about like broader problems within humanity that lead to war, and those are things that Redditors don't really want to take on because it's too complicated of a thought. That the idea, it's like they would just like to think if everybody who agrees with a certain political side is responsible for all the bad things ever. Like if you ever want to, like the definitive Redditor is Destiny. If you ever listened to Destiny talk about politics, he is Le Redditor. That is him. Him or Hassan is like, that's the political like aisle of Reddit. They listen to those two guys and vouch. You know, they really don't know, like they don't acknowledge the fact that the actual problems aren't the political side. The biggest problems are issues with human nature. Gundam and a lot of Tamino's work is about human nature and what drives us to these things. Now you said you dislike Seed and Cosmic Era stuff. I was wondering if you could take a look at the good part of Cosmic Era, Astray and its sequels. I might do Astray at some point because I already did Stargazer. Stargazer was really good. I really liked Stargazer. Which Gundam universe could survive the Dark Gundam? I think Wing could pull it off because Wing Zero's Buster Rifle, but they would struggle with it a lot more than what Domon did. Same thing with I think Gundam 00 might be able to pull it off, maybe. But I think a lot of them would die in the process. And I don't know if they would be able to kill the Dark Gundam permanently. Reddit is the website where common sense gets thrown out the window. Yeah, it's the home of political smooth brains, for sure. Rommel was a petty SOB. The reason why the 7th Panzer Division is called the Ghost Division is Rommel kept turning off his radio due to him hating Manstein. I clearly need to do a little bit more reading on World War II. Since your Amazing Punisher video, the character always makes question why he rarely wears a helmet in firefights. Probably because of a lot of the engagements he's in are pretty brief, if you think about it. Regarding content creation, are gaps in your content a universally bad thing? I am of the opinion that you just need to have a consistent upload schedule. I try to do one thing every week. And that generally is like my rule of thumb. Some people do daily. Some people do other things. But the consistency is key. And it takes time to hit it. But once you do, it makes a big difference. What are your thoughts on the Exorcist chapter of the Astartes? I fucking love them. They're such a cool idea. Probably, some people don't know this. They are Sons of Dorn, for those who don't know. One of my favorite successor chapters is the Imperial Fist. My favorite is probably the Templars, and then the Crimson Fists. But after the Crimson Fists, it's probably the Exorcists. Like, they're so cool. Somebody's been asking me a question about Gundam pilots. Where's the question at? Oh, it's from Terror of Death. He says... Oh, no, wait, he asked that one. What the fuck? God damn it. There it is. He put it again. Thank you, Steve. Of these Gundam protagonists, who do you think is the most dangerous? Hiro, Setsuna, or Mikazuki? Hiro, because he's actually an assassin. The other two were child soldiers, but they're they were never formally trained, whereas Hiro was trained as an assassin by his dad, who was also an assassin. So... looking forward to the day you do Gundam Explained on the Cosmic Era. Guys, I don't know if I want to do that. I really don't know if I want to do that. I really don't know if I want to watch Gundam Seed again. Just, I don't know if I could do it. The money would have to be really good. It'd have to be really good. Like, I'd have to be making significant bank on YouTube and, like, have nothing else to do. That would be when that happens. Which of them is the most ruthless? Mikazuki, for sure. Have I ever watched The Raid Redemption? I have not watched either of the Raid films, and I need to. I hear they're fucking awesome. The Reddit thing you said reminds me of my frustration with Witch of Mercury. Wish we could have seen the Earth-space conflict, but nope, just boring school. Yeah, that's my issue with Witch from Mercury. That's why I'm glad I re-reviewed that, because I feel like it's a focus problem. I've got another video that's gonna be coming up. I'm gonna doing some tweaks on that Shirt Dude just did. I want to add some things to it. The basic idea is that I believe that Gundam does not have a direction right now. I think it has lost sight of itself, and that's an issue. I don't like the idea of Mobile Suit Gundam losing sight of itself, you know. If Dorn were to return, what do you think he would do in the setting of 40K? I think the first thing that Rogel Dorn would probably do is probably have a few arguments with Gilliman over specifically Gilliman being the regent of the Imperium. I think he would challenge him on it. I do eventually think that Rogel will, you know, accept it on the basis that he becomes the War Master. I think that's what's likely going to happen. Is that because right now the Lion seems happy in the Imperium Nihilus, like, whooping ass over there. Because he didn't even challenge Dante. Because the head of the Imperium Nihilus, the regent of the Imperium Nihilus, is Dante. The Blood Angels are in charge over there. The Lion didn't argue with him. He's just happy his brother's alive. He's just like, alright, I'm going to take my sons. We're going to come here to the Imperium Nihilus. We're going to back you up. That's pretty much it. So right now, we have Dante, the Blood Angels, and the Dark Angels with the Lion taking care of the Imperium Nihilus. And then Gilliman and has his forces over there in the Imperium proper. So I think that's what's going to happen, though, is Dorn is probably going to work with Gilliman. And I think there's going to be some changes that start happening in the setting when Dorn comes back. I think that he's going to start moving the Imperium closer to what it was like in the Heresy, which he's already started doing. So to be fair, Gundam Witch of Mercury does focus on the Earth-space conflict and its side materials, which is not great, but at least it does touch on it. The problem is that should have been done in the main show, and they just completely fucking ignored that it was there, except for one episode in the second season. The best Char clone throughout Gundam? Oh, it's Zex. Like, not even close. I think if the Tall Geese was in the Universal Century, would Amuro be the best pilot for it? Well, Amuro's the best pilot in the setting, so I think that goes without saying. Where is Vulcan going to end up when he returns? Vulcan coming back, I have a feeling that whenever they have Vulcan come back, they are going to start putting in rules for technology and vehicles and stuff that are in Horus Heresy to be used on the main tabletop game. This is my theory, because the thing about Vulcan is all that shit from the Heresy era, all that tech, all those vehicles, the Saturnine armor, all of that, he knows how to build it. So all the STCs are right up here. I think there's going to be a clash between him and the Mechanicus, because some of the things that Vulcan will want to do will be things that they consider tech heresy. But are you going to tell that to a Primarch? You know, that's going to be interesting. I think that he and Belisarius Cawl are going to get along. Did I miss your second question? Hold on, let me go up. The chapter of Salamanders were in Terminator around the end of Terminator 2. End of Terminator 2? Well, Terminator 2 ends like we think that... Do you mean like just in the future of Terminator? That would be... I think the Salamanders would eventually win, but the Terminators would give them a hard fight because their weapons are plasma-based. Because those Terminators, like it's like fighting Necrons, but they don't have a resurrection protocol. So eventually the Salamanders are going to beat them. And then Doom6 said I missed one of his. I'm trying to get everybody at least once. I'm not seeing it. Somebody in here did ask, what is it with Seed and NTR? Oh, my opinion on Trazen the Infinite. Trazen is a very interesting character. I don't mind him. I'm not as fascinated with him as everybody else is. I like the Silent King. The Silent King is my favorite Necron. He interests me the most. But somebody asked me about, like, what is it with Seed and NTR? I plan on doing a video talking about it. Like, because it is, it's hilarious that it's a thing. That, like, there is an actual... like, this is something people don't... I got on somebody on Twitter about this. So the guy who is the director of Gundam Seed, Mitsuo Fukuda, is an infamous Coomer. Infamous for it. He is a horny bastard. He puts fan service in everything he works on. And somebody on Twitter said, Crossange, empowering piece of feminist literature about rebellion and escaping patriarchal systems that exploit and dehumanize women. And I responded to them, I said, Crossange is created by a Coomer who wrote it to have jerk-off material. This fucking moron actually thinks it's feminist literature. Like, what the actual fuck? But it's like, that's actually like one thing is like, Crossange is lesbian porn. It's lesbian softcore. Anybody who's watched it can tell you that. There's nothing about patriarchy or anything like that. Like, in fact, the guy who, like, guess who kills Embryo? A dude. Tusk kills him, not Ange. So at the end of it, they needed a man to free them from the male evil god. I'm just saying. Because Mitsuo Fukuda, it would not surprise me if he was of the opinion that women always need to be bailed out by men. But he's kind of known for that sort of behavior. Like, and being a bit of a chauvinist as well as a perv. So yeah. But yeah, I plan on doing a video about just asking the question, why does Gundam Seed have so much NTR? Because there's yeah, there's a lot of it. There's a surprising amount of it. Sex sells. I am not disputing that. Nor would I ever. I mean, the Dakimakuras on the Cyberpop campaign, I approved of them. I am fully aware sex sells. We sold quite a few of those damn things. And we will be selling more. I'm fully aware that sex sells. I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, don't be under the impression that Mitsuo Fukuda isn't a fucking Coomer. Because he is. Tyler Preston, I just came into lots of NTR and Gundam Seed. What did I walk into? Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna be talking about. I'm definitely doing a video on it because every once in a while, a Gundam Seed fan will leave some dumb fucking comment on one of those videos, and I see it, and my first response is to crack my knuckles and go, "All right, time for another one." And to be fair, people really like it when I shit on Seed. People think it's fucking hilarious. There's also an NTR parody of Haman-sama? What? That sucks. I'm guessing it's a Rule 34 series or something like that. Do you have a favorite Transformers combiner team? Not really. I'm not that big of a Transformers guy. You have to keep in mind, I'm not, like... It's kind of a weird thing. I do like mecha. But I don't imbibe mecha as much as I imbibe war stories. Like sci-fi war stories. That's more my jam than anything. If I had to pick between exam or the destroy mode, which one would you pick? Like the NTD system? Well, that's the thing. The NTD system wouldn't work for me because I'm not a new type. I would have to use exam. In which case, I'm going to have a really fucking bad headache. So I don't really have any options there. If I were in a situation where both would work on me, I would rather use NTD, but neither one is really a good option. There was a Haman-sama body pillow. Would you do it? No. No, I'm going to be a 40-year-old man in a few months, guys. I am not fucking... How do you, like... I'm at a point where, like, the next dating relationship I get into needs to be the last one. And how do you explain that to another woman in her 30s or 40s? I question what age you... I think he means what got you into Gundam. Black Queen, I think that... Or what got me into Gundam was Gundam Wing. I got into Gundam, like, the instant it hit the United States. With Gundam Wing back on Toonami, and I have adored it ever since. So I've been watching Gundam... when did it debut? Let's look that up. I want to say it was, like, in the year 2000. When did Gundam Wing debut on Toonami? 2000, yes. March 6, 2000. So, yeah. So I have been a Gundam fan for literally a quarter century. Kind of crazy, isn't it? And now it's my job to talk about it. Like, that's the weird part. What if the future Mrs. Curtis also had a doggy? That'd be a hilarious conversation. Especially if it was of a Gundam. Like, if she had a Char Aznable doggy, I would just look at it and go, so I have to ask the question, does it help you go to sleep 3 times faster? If you marry, remember to get prenups. Cynical as it sounds, that is exactly what I will be doing. Because the thing is that I have turned the corner financially on YouTube. In my opinion. I've turned the corner. I have figured out how it works. You know, how to make money on this. And some of you guys have seen dudes who have 100,000, 200,000, so on and so forth channels, right? Like, they make good money. Especially these days. And then you've got the bigger channels like Charlie or others. Like, they're making big bank. You have Hamas Parker fucking leasing a fucking Ferrari, you know, and all this other stuff. Like, even if it is just a lease, that's still really expensive. Like, there's a lot of money to be made in this game. And if I get hitched when I start making money with this even more than I already am, which I'm not making huge money, mind you, I'm just making more than enough to feed myself and have like a full... I make enough to justify this as a full-time job now. The fact is that if I ever get hitched again, because I was married once when I was really young, I ever get hitched again, there will be a prenup. And the whole thing is like, look, if you want to leave, it's a clean break. You know, meaning you don't get anything. Because you said you can live without me. Okay, then. We will take you at your word. I legitimately hate the concept of alimony. I hate the idea that, you know, you have to pay for somebody else's lifestyle just because they got used to it. That's fucking bullshit. And I will not allow myself to be trapped in a situation like that. It's never going to happen, you know. Thank you, Blue Sharky. Have yourself a good one, dude. Also, somebody asked for a dubbed version of Devil's Data. I think it was Dusort who asked. Thank you for the €2. There isn't one, except for like a few episodes, and it's not good. So you have to watch it in Japanese. Never understand why Twitch streamers like Ludwig associate and defend people like Hassan. And yeah, I don't get it either, man. I don't get it either. Don't think I ever will. But then again, I keep my friend group kind of tight. You know, it's pretty. It's even smaller now than it used to be. But I kind of prefer it that way. It keeps me grounded, honestly. I can just focus on what I need to focus on. Where do I see the big two comic companies going in the future? Well, they're probably not going to go anywhere. I feel like they have course corrected enough to where they can probably afford to exist. But I don't see them ever being a big cultural force ever again. So that's what I see. Also, what family court systems do to husbands and fathers. Dude, that's the thing. Like, so I'll get a little personal for a second. Like, my perspective on it comes from being the kid in the middle. Because when my parents split up, it was right at the turn of the millennium. And, by the way, I love my mom and I love my dad. Don't take what I'm about to say as if I hate either of them. I don't. But they did throw me in the middle. I was messenger boy to both of them at points. And I fucking hated it. And whenever one of them would get mad at the other, I tended to be the one who would get, you know, get the brunt of things. You know, my mom is mad at my dad. Well, Micah's getting yelled at. Micah's getting screamed at. So on and so forth. So, Micah leaves, moves in with dad. Mom does frustrating things. Micah gets yelled at. You know, Micah just wants his space, tries to tell everybody he just wants his space, never gets his space. Just let me fucking do my thing. And so then that became a problem, so I go back to live with mom. And, you know, like, it's already hard to go through a divorce. You know, it's already very... And I've gone through one myself. I thank Jesus fairly often that I don't have any kids. Because what they would have been put through by my ex would have been a fucking nightmare. And I would be tied to her forever. And she was fucking crazy. So... yeah, that's why if I ever get hitched again, it's like whenever I see red flags with girls, like, I'm out. I'm gone. So, and I'm not trying to say I'm some sort of fucking Casanova, but I'm certainly not raking in tens. Not with this neck chub. I'm old and fat now, so, or old and fatter. So, you know, that shit ain't happening. But, yeah. I think of Gundam Racing series. I'd play it. Sounds like fun. It would be a lot better than a lot of the other Gundam games we're getting these days. Did you hear about the Japanese VA of Judo Ashita and Frankie of One Piece retiring? Kazuki House is retiring? I mean, he's getting up there. He's had some health problems over, like, the last couple of years. I remember seeing, like, an image of him from a couple of years ago coming out of the hospital. And he was kind of beat up. Like, he was in a wheelchair. He had lost a ton of weight. Looked kind of rough. Like, he's getting up there in years, so I understand it. It's just a bummer. He's one of my favorite seiyus. He always puts in a lot of effort, because I love him as Judo Ashita, and I love him as the lead character. I think it's Rio in Dankuga as well. So yeah, he's had an awesome career though. Like you can't argue otherwise. Awesome career, awesome voice actor. Did I ever watch Big O? Yeah, when it came out. I don't remember much of the second season of it, but I remember enjoying what I saw, because it basically felt like, you know, a mecha show by way of Batman the Animated Series, and I love Batman the Animated Series. So he retired months ago. I must have missed it. So if I ever get back into Macross, you know, I think you're gonna like Macross Plus. I really want to rewatch the original before anything, because I haven't watched it in fucking forever. Big O review? Maybe someday. Lolly recently did a review of it, and he did such a good job. I don't know if I could really say anything that I necessarily disagree with. But then again, I haven't watched the second season. Or at least I don't remember it. So we'll have to see what happens. No promises. What is your favorite member of the Dom family line? Personal favorite is the Dryson. I'm a big fan of the Rick Diaz. Why are the scientists in the UC still against iterating on the Alice system in favor of awful alternatives? They probably don't think Alice was as effective. That would be my thought. Did watching Frerin change your views on elves? No. It really didn't. I still don't like elves in a lot of things. Still don't like the Eldar. Still don't really like the elves in Lord of the Rings either. Like, just fucking knife ears, man. Alright, have a good one, Rocker Rocket. How long have we been going? Hour and a half? Give it a little bit more time. Think American comics will ever hit like they did back in the day, or will manga, webtoons, and European comics eat their lunch? I think that right now comic books are directionless, sort of like Gundam is, to be honest with you. They don't really know what they want to do. Half of the people that work within these companies are still of the mentality that they need to be political as fuck and constantly move into politics. But there are also other people that work at these companies that just want to tell cool stories. Until the political sector of these comic companies leaves, there will never be mass improvement, and they will not be able to compete. Favorite Super Robot Wars? V, for sure. And I do own Y, but I have not gotten all the way through it. What do I like to see in a Gundam game? I would like to see them try to make the Gundam version of Space Marine 2, in the sense that it is a game that actually makes me feel like a Gundam pilot. I don't really believe I've ever really had that experience yet. There's no, like, definitive Gundam game, in my opinion. That's not like a strategy game. I can't really see anything about Hearts of Iron, Dalek. I've never played it. Have I finished Elgheim or Dunbine yet? Nope, not yet. They're in the future. Most people would hate elves if the Altmer from Elder Scrolls were their first encounter. Yeah. Even Pancreas No Work, elf fanboy that he is, hates the Altmer. Yeah, like they're the worst. I fucking like in Skyrim, I would go out of my way to kill them. Like out of my way. Like I saw them and if I saw them, it was like total elf death. Just meh. What superpower do you believe is underused? Precognition. I don't feel like it's properly played with. I feel like the only character that makes it interesting is Spider-Man. Honestly. What is my favorite new type only battle in Gundam and Zeta Gundam? Well, Gundam, it's the final fight between Char and Amuro. With Zeta Gundam, it's the battle between Camille and Haman. What would be the most interesting or most fun, utterly deranged alternate timeline of the 1 Year War? An utterly deranged version of the 1 Year War would be if the Titans came into creation during it. Because then they would just start genociding the colonies right back. That would be fucked up. Thoughts on the Mega Man franchise? I mean, I loved it as a kid. But after I beat Mega Man X, and then I tried playing X2 and 3, I'm like, yeah, Mega Man's never getting any better than X. And I've just kind of held that opinion ever since. Will I ever get to build the MGEXS Gundam? Probably. Right now, like, what I gotta do... I've been having back problems again. What I plan on doing, because I've rearranged most of my living room. I want to move some more things around in it. Get my weights and my heavy bag out of that room and into my bedroom. And then put all of my Gunpla shelves into the living room. When I do that, I'll have more space for shelving, and then I would have shelf space for the big ones like the EXS. So, it's put the RX-78 in HD2 spoiler. It's a mod. Well, I figured it would be. Did I ever watch Kakarot series? What if Amuro got the Alex? Yeah, I thought he did a really good job with it. Still need to beat him in subs though. Because somebody was a jerk about... I feel really bad for other Gundam creators. I'm going to say this right now. Because I think that right now I'm the second one, right? I'm the second biggest. Because I think like Simply New Type has got a smaller channel than me. I just beat Retcon 404 in subs. But he doesn't do Gundam. He just does anime. He's just a Gundam fan. Yeah, I don't think that there's another Gundam channel outside of the Gunpla channels, like Mecha Gaikatsu or Zaku Aurelius. Like, they obviously have bigger channels too. But people who just talk Gundam and Gundam lore, I think it's just me and Kakarot are the big two at this point. I think he's a good dude. But one of his fans like came into my comments. It's like, this guy's a fucking jerk. Don't watch him. Go watch Kakarot. I'm like, dude, somebody did the same thing with fucking Retcon 404. Now I beat him in subs. So now that's the next goal. Don't fucking come into people's comments and do that shit. By the way, to anybody out there, don't ever go in from my comments do that to somebody else either. There's a big fucking pie out there that everybody can get a slice from. We do not need to be acting like one content creator is not allowed to exist, or you can't watch two different dudes. Fuck, that's fucking stupid. Would I do a collab with Kakarot? If he asked, sure. If you wanted me to do something with him, I wouldn't be against it. Again, seems like a really nice guy. My worry would be that Gundam Reddit fucking hates me. So my thought would be he would catch flack for it if he worked with me on anything. So I would not recommend that he do it, but if he doesn't give a fuck, sure, I'd be down. But I'm not going to pursue it. Do I play Gundam Breaker? I played Gundam Breaker 3, and what's the one on PC? Let me look it up. Gundam. New Gundam Breaker. I picked that up too. I'm not really a fan of those style of like games, like the Gunpla games. They're not my vibe. They're all right. Like they're kind of fun, but yeah. Who is more infamous in Gundam Seed fandom, me or Wacky Modder 84? I've never heard of Wacky Modder 84. I mean, I've got the bigger channel, but he's showed up in chat before. Seems like a nice guy. Apparently, he's not very well liked by them either. I think it's probably a toss-up, honestly. Because he apparently hates Seed just as much as I do, from what I've heard. What do you think of the Noisy Fairy team? They were fun. They were fun to follow. Jesus fucking Christ, the mechs that they got were really good. Their weakest one was that Ifrit Jaeger sniper version, but even then it was a really good mobile suit. Not to mention, who the fuck would think making Ifrit Jaeger into a sniper weapon or a sniper unit? Do they hate you because they speak the truth about Kira the hypocrite? That's it's a tribalistic thing. It's like I identify with this series, ergo you must be destroyed. So, but yeah, like the next Seed oriented video I do will be about the amount of NTR in it. So that will be pretty funny. That'll piss them off real good. All right, I'm gonna take off, guys. I'm gonna go jump into someone's game to surprise them and give them a hand with something, and then and yeah. So I'm gonna take off. I appreciate everybody coming by, hanging out, for being liberal with super chats as well. That's always appreciated. I don't really have much to add to that. Just appreciate you guys coming and hanging out and asking me questions. We'll be back next week. And if we decide to do gaming stuff, especially during spooky time, you will know on Thursday. So, on that note, I'm going to take off. You guys have yourselves a great night. I'll see you next time.